pace is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It is a Saturday Power Hour edition on January 30th. Newcastle showed a little bit of power with a win. It had been a minute. They get the 3 points over Everton, and Carlo Ancelotti's got to be a little upset about that because Newcastle actually looked like a functioning football side. It was kind of crazy. I was a little confused as to what was going on. Maybe it was the change kits. Maybe it was Miguel Almiron actually in a position that suits him. Maybe it was a willingness to come out and play after you recover possession. All crazy things for Newcastle United this year. Yes, I hope Alex Basine is here so he can be happy about this. He might be out in the streets celebrating. There's no telling. Crazy result in the morning. We've got Copa Libertadores at 3 o'clock. We've got some big games the rest of the day. Let's just start with the game so far. John, what'd you think about Newcastle's win?
I thought Callum Wilson should have had a hat trick. He missed the opportunity in the first half. The header that created goal number one, which should have been goal number two, Richarlison was late, absolutely behind in getting to Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson got up and got it past Jordan Pickford. And then, obviously, when the game's stretched and you're trying to get an equalizer late, you come back down to the other side. Great ball, by the way, from near side to far to Spring Wilson to give him the brace. But, seeing an active Newcastle, it was new, it was strange, and, good for the guys to, when Graham Jones comes in from Bournemouth, and it was told that he was going to be bringing in new, exciting ideas, and obviously he did because they
No, come on. Let's not get it twisted. It's Newcastle. They had 39% of the ball. They didn't do that much different, except they were willing to go when they recovered. And that's not even if that is a new idea, and then Newcastle's got bigger problems than I thought. You had Miguel Almiron in the middle of the park. I believe we talked about how he was described in Argentina as a flying 8 before he even arrived in Atlanta. I think we talked about how during his time in Atlanta, he was not a typical number 10. He was much more of an attacking 8, and Tata Martino built a team to get those moments that we saw for Newcastle today out of him. You win possession, even if it's deep, and you can go because he can flip the field so fast with his transition play. And he was everywhere today. It was great, and that's the position that suits him. You don't necessarily need a 10. You don't necessarily need an extra 8 next to him because he can cover a lot of ground, and he can impact the game on both sides. Jarrett, let me flip it to you. So Newcastle was much better than we're accustomed to. They were willing to go and get numbers forward. What about Everton? Because they had 61% of the ball. They only created 3 shots on target. We're talking a lot about Newcastle, but does Everton need to feel bad about themselves?
Yes. You gave Newcastle positive feelings, and that alone is worthy of flogging. The floggings will continue until morale improves. That's just not good at all. We're in the middle of the season now. We're in the second half of the season, actually. We're at the end of January. You can't be dropping games like this to Newcastle, where, Newcastle, you had possession, but we talked about before, possession can be empty. You don't do anything with possession, then, it's like sitting on a bag of apples until they go rotten. It's cool, you got it. But if you don't use it, then what good is it doing you? And I think to the Newcastle side, my sympathies go out to the Newcastle fans when they take these moments and the next game out, Bruce is like, nah, we're just, that whole thing where we got forward, we're not going to. That was a one-time only thing. We won't do that again.
Yeah, and I don't know the situation with the new assistants coming in. It feels very strange with Newcastle bringing in additional coaches that I don't know if Steve Bruce wanted or requested or what have you. I don't know. Yeah, false managers, DMTM. That's it exactly.
Jones is actually listed as the second favorite to replace Steve Bruce.
Well, of course. I mean, it definitely appears that way. I don't know. I don't know how they're working. I don't know how it works. But back to Everton real quick. 61% of the ball and 7 key passes is not good enough. If you're going to have that possession, you've got to do something with it. Flip side is Newcastle had 39% of the ball and 9 key passes, and Miguel Almiron and Ryan Fraser each created 3 chances. Both created, in total, 3 big chances. Newcastle created 4 big chances in total, and that's because of the transition. They were really good on that transition play, really strong. Alex Basine is with us. He's very happy. He said Hendrick played his best match today. Miggy was a beast. Callum finally had some chances to chew on. And that's probably the biggest difference here is I don't remember seeing Newcastle with 4 big chances created in a long time. A long, long time. And you can't, if you're Everton and you are where we all thought they could be as a potential contender, or maybe I did. Maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I'm the crazy one here. I thought they could handle these kinds of games. They should, with the talent they have. They should not be dropping games in that manner, in my opinion. I know home doesn't really matter as much right now because of the lack of fans in the building, but to lose at home to the now 16th place team in the table when you had an opportunity to jump into 5th place, that's a little embarrassing if you're Carlo Ancelotti and Everton.
Yeah, you cannot have results like this. You just can't. It's a team that you're supposed to take care of business with, and going into this match, Newcastle was listed as the least mobile midfield in the world. That was how they were looked at locally, and you get a result like this against you. Then no, you cannot have stuff like this if you're going to be regarded as a part of the discussion.
Yeah, meanwhile, Manchester City has already opened the scoring against Sheffield United in the 9th minute. They are up 1-0. Sheffield was going for the Manchester double. Yeah, probably not going to happen. Ropes, talking about Everton before we move on to some other games, said that they gave up so much with sloppy passing in the midfield. And you look at the midfield for Everton, it was outplayed by the midfield for Newcastle. And, some of that is Almiron playing in a way that, those of us in Atlanta are accustomed to seeing him, and maybe in the Premier League and the pundits aren't used to seeing it in that way. But Miguel Almiron was better than James Rodriguez. That's something that he's had, and he's had that ability. He hasn't been given the license to do it very much. And, when your top players are getting outplayed by players on the opposition, these are the kind of results that you get. It's just how it goes. The rest of the day in the Premier League, and Manchester City right now, if this result holds, and it's very early, they would go 4 points clear at the end of this match. You also have Crystal Palace and Wolves scoreless. You have West Brom and Fulham scoreless, and it's a critical game for Fulham. They did not take advantage of Brighton this week. They drew, again, because that's what they're really good at doing. They've got to beat a team in West Brom that they're ahead of in the table. There's only 2 teams they're ahead of in the table. You've got to get 3 points here if you're Fulham, if you're going to have a chance. And if you do, then you're 1 point behind Brighton at the end of this match, and then you're in shouting distance. Newcastle and Burnley have a little bit of space. They're on 22. Fulham right now is in that final relegation spot on 14.
Fulham going into this one was a plus 121 in the juice boxes in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. West Brom, a plus 255, and your draws a plus 230.
Yeah, I wasn't going to touch anything with that game because I don't trust either one of those teams. No. You also, over in Germany this morning, and we'll get an update for you in just a second.
Good God, Schalke just scored.
Well, that's an interesting game that you mentioned because Werder Bremen and Schalke are both starting American strikers up top, Matthew Hopp and Josh Sargent. getting the starts. Schalke scores according to Jarrett, and they're getting late in the first half in the 9:30 kickoffs over in Germany. And Schalke, man, didn't really see that one coming. They've got an interesting situation with Hop because he is out of contract in the summer. And now everybody is very interested in him, and he can sign a pre-contract wherever he wants to go. I don't think he's back with Schalke.
No.
And that's really poor business. Again, you didn't really give him the opportunity. He gets the opportunity, and he gets goals when he starts to play. He doesn't get the goal here, but he's going to leave. He's going to go elsewhere, and they're going to be left holding the bag that is empty. Other games in Germany as they get close to the halftime whistles. Union Berlin is up 1-0 at home on Mönchengladbach. Bayern Munich is up now 2-0 on Hoffenheim. They just added another score to the board. Dortmund and Augsburg are 1-1, and Eintracht Frankfurt and Hertha Berlin are scoreless. You also have a game in the second half in Serie A. Milan on the road at Bologna. Milan is leading 1-0, and they needed that goal. Ante Rebic with the goal. Zlatan Ibrahimovic had a penalty saved, it appears, right before that, and Rebic put in the rebound.
Fulham has scored to Cordova Reed in the 11th minute, and so now they have a lead on West Brom at 1-0.
That's just funny because it's West Brom and Big Sam.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Wearing his big old puffy coat with the hood this morning to go out there onto the touchline while Scott Parker is just dressed to the nines with the blazer and the sweater, ready to go.
Good times. Anything interesting in the championship, John, that we should be knowing about? When does your Swansea side play? They play right now. They're scoreless.
Everybody's playing right now. The Colonel said that he would be watching the game against Rotherham. They're on the road at Rotherham. They are a favorite, plus 135 to plus 225. Jordan Morris is in the match day 20. He is not in the starting 11 today.
Okay, we'll see if he gets his first time on the field. The big games that I'm kind of waiting to jump into today, Arsenal, Manchester United at 12:30 in the Premier League. That should be a good one. Manchester United has a little bit of desperation after their result with Sheffield United, and Arsenal gets Martin Odegaard in his debut, and I think he's going to make them a much better team. Will he do it day one? Maybe he needs a little more time, but he's going to make them a better side. And I'm also looking forward to the Copa Libertadores final at 3 o'clock with Palmeiras and Santos, and that's on BN and Fanatis.
FNTZ.co/soccer down here.
You can't do the slash when you say it. That's kind of weird.
Did you do the slash when I say it?
No, I don't do the slash. That's your gimmick.
Okay,
but you can't gimmick yourself.
I was reinforcing it. I was reinforcing myself. It wasn't doing the gimmick myself.
You gimmick
just
yourself.
Reinforcing the importance of FNTZDO/soccer down here.
Well, you're reinforcing the slash, and that's probably the least important part of it, to be honest. Well, I guess they're all important, because if you don't have the slash, you're probably in trouble. So, yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, Jarrett, what's going on in Scotland? Do we need to know anything about your Scottish Premiership?
Today?
I was waiting for the sound clip, but okay. Sure,
nah,
let's just go.
John already did it. There's no point in playing it.
Yeah, right now you have Aberdeen playing Livingston. So if you got that red TV, that's one to pull up. Aberdeen pulls the draw in the middle of the week. They're still hunting. They're fighting Hibs, and they're fighting Hibs for third place right now, which will be Europa League territory because of Scotland's coefficient going into the next year. So that is important. Now, if Celtic decided to re-implode because they won in the middle of the week, they're playing this morning. If they decided to implode, there is a slight opening for an Aberdeen or a Hibs. Hibs being your most, maybe Bayer Leverkusen-esque team in Scotland of the old Neverkusen meme. Hibsing is a thing. It's like Clemsoning in like the early 2000s. If Hibs get in a good situation, the odds of it exploding in their face are really good. But they and Aberdeen are fighting out for that third spot. Aberdeen has Livingston this morning, which is not who you really want to play right now. Because we talked during the week, Livingston and their former made man manager have not lost a game, I think, in 12 matches now. Oh, God.
Yeah, I can't think of a better sounder for this one. I'm just going to read you from Get French Football News. Serious incident currently ongoing at Marseille's training center. Furious fans are trying to force entry and have set a tree on fire after spraying the entrance with smoke and fireworks, according to La Provence. More follows, and there's a photo of it's more than a tree on fire outside of the training ground.
Wow.
RMC reporting that certain supporters have successfully broken into the Marseille training ground. Currently unclear whether the Marseille players are at the training ground or not. Usually they are hours before a match day. Marseille play Rennes tonight. Andre Villas-Boas spoke earlier this week, and he said he has not been offered a new contract to continue at Marseille, and he doesn't expect to be offered one. I mean, his team's performance, that's not necessarily a shock. They're not bad, but not great. They are in 6th right now in the table. 3 teams go to the Champions League out of France, and they're well past that. They're 13 points out of 3rd place, but they're only a few points out of the 4th and 5th spots, which will be European spots. That's madness. We'll see if we can find anything else about it, but yeah, this is kind of crazy.
Don't give the Celtic fans any ideas.
No. I mean, I've heard, and I don't know a ton about Marseille's ultras. I've heard some not so nice things about them in general, but I don't know where they rank on the ultra scale. Yeah, there are videos of them inside the gates, and it looks really bad. I have not seen anything about the players yet, and if they are there or if they had already left. This is madness. And look, with ultras in this way, I think a lot of times that name gets thrown around like it's, they are the ultra fans. Well, not really in this case. Ultras in the truest sense of it are generally pretty detestable because they're like the worst senses of the Barra Bravas in Argentina and in other countries where it's not really about the performance as much as it is other things. Now, in this case, they're supposedly protesting the results. But, yeah, again, it's always a good thing to go and threaten the players on the team before they're going to play a match to get the results that you're looking for. I haven't seen this really break into English language stuff yet. It's ongoing. It's happening right now. There are current videos being posted from France with this, and it's pretty scary stuff. I mean, this is not something that we're used to seeing in major teams in the world where this is happening. I've heard about these things in Argentina where the Barra Bravas would break into the concentracion, a lot of times they'll stay at either the training ground or at the hotel a night before a game, and Barra Bravas would break in and make threats. And at one point when Maradona was young, at Boca, they did this as Boca was trying to win a title to threaten them because there had been some bad performances, and they're like, no, we don't have a problem with you, but it's this guy and this guy, and he stood up to him and kicked him out of the training ground, and they left because he was that kind of guy. Marseille doesn't have anybody like that, and we don't know what's going on here with this. I had not heard about supporter turmoil with Marseille. I mean, it's not like they're going to get relegated, Like, that's what's so baffling about this. They're struggling in the league, but they're 6th. That's not catastrophic.
No, it looks like, and just looking at hashtags, they want the president of Marseille, Jacques-Henri Ayrault, and the owner, Frank McCord, out of the club, basically. So that's
this
seems the genesis of this.
This whole thing, and look, it's the common thing in clubs around the world. Like, this guy out, owner out. Okay, you really want that? Because then you might not have a club. It's a weird way of looking at it. Now, different clubs are, like Barcelona, for instance, was not owned by a person. They wanted the president out. Well, he had run the club into the ground. Okay, you have members there who make a vote. This is a different situation entirely. I don't know how this accomplishes anything, Ricky Ricardo. I don't know. This is madness. Katie Weaver says the average French fan is pretty chill. The ultras can be crazy, especially Marseille. Jason Nick says, what's the end game of breaking in? I don't know. I mean, if you prevent your team
a lot of them are not thinking that far ahead.
Yeah,
some of them might be, and those are the ones you worry about. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But a lot of them are not thinking that far ahead.
Yeah, I see it starting to get a little bit of traction with some English language Twitter outlets. So we'll come back to it if we can find out a little bit more while we're on with you for the next 30-plus minutes. But yeah, this is nuts, and it's not something you're used to in American sports. It's not something that's all that common, to be perfectly honest, and it's pretty scary stuff because, I mean, you're not just protesting outside now. You're breaking in and you're lighting things on fire, and that's always a dangerous situation. I'm waiting to see if there's anything about the team being there or not, or having already left, because they have a match here in just a little bit. Madness. Just absolute madness.
Speaking of angry fans, St. Mirren just took the lead against Celtic, so that whole second, third place race might actually be back on.
Yeah, Celtic fans, don't be Marseille fans. Don't be that stupid. You want to go hold a sign out and say Neil Lennon should be fired, go for it. Do that, but don't.
Yeah,
throw
that's what they've
things at
done.
the
They
bus
went and stood
like
outside the training ground and
they threw things at buses. I mean, that's wrong, and that's 100% wrong. Like, you want to protest. Don't break things, because then you kind of lose your.
I believe they
authority
identified
here.
a bunch of them and either had them arrested or banned from the stadium and from away games as well.
Good, because those aren't real fans. Those are not people who are actually thinking about the best things for the club in general.
They're opportunistic, and no one benefits from it.
No, we'll keep you posted on that. We'll come back to it for sure before we go and see if we can find out more. Couple of players to keep an eye on as we're getting close to the transfer windows closing on Monday. I did see that Peacock will have Sky Sports News streaming all day on Peacock, which is pretty cool. You'll get to see I guess you'll have the reporters outside of the grounds and waiting to shove a microphone into a car window to get a quip from a player or an agent who is traveling here and there. David Alaba is one that there's still a bunch of clubs that are interested in signing him for next season. He's out of contract in the summer. Not going to go anywhere in this window, but you can cross Manchester City off of that list, according to the Manchester Evening News. Guardiola is not interested. Their attention is on signing a striker, not a center back. So maybe you can include Manchester City in the Erling Haaland conversation, but not in the David Alaba conversation. Gonzalo Montiel from River Plate thought it was going to be a done deal for him to go a couple different places, and it hasn't happened yet. Now West Ham has gotten into the mix, according to AS. £9 million asking price from River Plate to get this one done. 24-year-old right back who's been part of the Argentine national team, star for River Plate. $9 million is a somewhat tough number at the moment for a player who is good, but is he a game changer? And some teams don't have non-game changer player money at the moment, so it's a bit of an issue. West Ham was a new one. There had been Spanish clubs, there had been French clubs in for Montiel, and it hadn't gotten done. Bayern did something kind of interesting today on the Dayo Upamecano situation. Again, 22-year-old RB Leipzig center back. Everybody's waiting for him to go somewhere in the summer. There's a reserve or release clause on him that is pretty manageable for his abilities in the summer. But Bayern and their sporting director said this. I guess it's not a secret meeting if he says, yes, we had a meeting. They had a 2.5-hour meeting with the agents of the player and with Bayern's sporting staff. Nobody wanted to comment on the meeting, but they did acknowledge that the meeting happened, and now Bayern Munich is going to be in this mix. I believe Chelsea, I believe Liverpool, I think Manchester United have all been in this mix. I think Real Madrid's even been linked. PSG has been linked. I mean, he's a player that everybody has been linked to, but maybe now Bayern, with Alaba leaving, is already starting to get out in front of it and basically like, yeah, we met, we talked. Yeah, so what? Kind of a different approach. Didn't expect to see that one come out. What else is on the board? I see we have more racist morons at quite a few different places in England. I know Chelsea's had some issues with this. Now West Brom has had some issues with this. A man was arrested for racially abusing Romain Sawyers of West Brom online. Racist message was sent to him. Man's been arrested on the suspicion of racially abusing the player online, taken into police custody. Our dedicated football hate crime officer is also investigating another report of a racist comment towards the same footballer. We will not tolerate racism. That's from the police. Good. Start arresting these people. Start banning these people. Start preventing these people from being part of the game. Racist moron is a redundancy, Hutch's own, but yes. I wanted to add to it a little bit. I could add a whole bunch of other words that I don't really like to say on broadcast situations, so I won't. This idiot is all of those things and more. And the idiots who were going after, I believe, Reece James from Chelsea. We talked about the ones with Manchester United. You're not welcome in the game anymore, and we're going to point you out, and you're going to get called out, and you're going to get arrested, and you're going to get banned, and bye. That's what it comes down to. It's just, no, there's no place for it anymore. One thing that came out that I thought was interesting, and maybe it changes after the result today with Newcastle. Steve Bruce told the Chronicle that the club would listen to tempting offers for, quote, any player, unquote, in their squad, including Matt Ritchie. That was not the first name that came to mind for me, but okay, Chronicle, if that's the one you're going to go with,
God,
sure.
Send Miguel Almiron to Atletico Madrid.
Well,
please put Miguel Almiron as a flying eight in Simeone's system and watch what happens.
Somebody's got to come up with the offer, but I'm a little baffled by Steve Bruce putting that out there the way he did. I am a little baffled by that, but more power to him. Go ahead.
Do you want a Scottish name to keep an eye on?
Well,
for the future?
We got the Matt Ritchie one that was the first player that the Chronicle wanted to highlight that was available.
Yeah. The other one I would point out is Josh Doig, who is an 18-year-old left back at Hibs. Chelsea and Arsenal are looking at him for this window potentially. I think Celtic and Rangers have looked at him too. 18 years old, this is what he did against Rangers in the middle of the week, and the Rangers team that has been dominant, really. 2 chances created, 6 successful open crosses, crossing accuracy of 67% in that game, won 100% of his defensive challenges. I mean, that's one I think that you're a couple years away from truly breaking in, but if one of them get a hold of him and loan him out, I think he'd be fun to watch if he ends up in, say, the championship on a loan.
Interesting.
And everybody needs left backs.
Everybody always needs left backs. And, yeah, left backs are always going to come at a premium, too. That's definitely going to happen. Just some other real basic stuff that if it becomes more of a story, we'll get into as we get into next week. But Arsenal's looking at budget shortfalls next year. PSG's looking at budget shortfalls next year. PSG's reportedly got to sell €60 million of players to be able to do things that they want to do. Arsenal's trying to figure out how to bridge the gap of not having revenue come in a regular way, like everybody else. But those are both, fairly recent updates to big clubs that are going to be in weird financial situations going forward. The big game today, talking about clubs in weird financial situations, Santos is one of them, and they've got an opportunity to maybe correct it with a win on the field today in the Copa Libertadores final. Palmeiras is the favorite. We'll talk about the numbers in a second on that. I would doubt they've changed too much. Maybe Palmeiras is becoming more of a favorite. But this is a very lucrative game, and maybe it's more important, that money side of it, in a year like this than it normally would be. Santos, if they win this, you're looking at almost $20 million, over the next year or so, with winning the tournament, playing in the Club World Cup next month, or in a couple days or in a couple weeks, playing in the Recopa Sudamericana, which is like the South American Super Cup, playing in next year's group stage of the Libertadores. You're talking about $20 million over the next year or so. They need it desperately. They've got players that are already on the way out after this game. This is their last chance with this group as it's currently constructed. And one player that is not listed as being on the move afterwards, but he's been linked to Atlanta United before. He's been linked to a number of clubs. Jefferson Soteldo, a very unique guy for Santos. He's 5'2" or 5'3", I think. He talked about it in an interview this week, how Lionel Messi is an inspiration to him, a smaller guy. Soteldo's even smaller than that. But he's so difficult to deal with. And I don't know what he would go for at this point, because he's been rumored with moves for a while. His valuation is kind of all over the place. I feel like he'd be in the $10 million ballpark. If he's going to go, it feels like it's the time to go. He's had a great tournament in the Libertadores. If they win, it's because he has a great final. And then maybe that price tag adds a couple of zeros to it. He's got to be the one to lead Santos. I don't see any other way they win unless he has a man-of-the-match kind of performance. Palmeiras is just a better team. They're both going to go for goals. It's going to be an attacking game. I recommended the over yesterday. I'm sticking with that. I do feel better closer we get to the game of Palmeiras winning it. Have the numbers from the odds makers changed at all?
A little. Santos is now plus 263 in the composite. They've gone up they've gone further away from even money. Yeah, that's
what I thought.
Palmeiras is a plus 118 in the composite, and your draw is a plus 222.
I figured as we got closer, you would see Palmeiras become more of a true favorite here, a bigger favorite. They're just the better team. They have the better goalkeeper in Weverton, who had the amazing second leg against River Plate, even though they conceded twice. He made 11 saves. He's made 39 saves in the 12 matches in the tournament, only conceded 6. He's trying to play his way into the Brazilian squad for the World Cup qualifiers coming up. You've got Gabriel Veron, who is being linked with moves to the biggest clubs in the world. It's another opportunity for him to show well. This could be one of his last games for Palmeiras. He's back from an injury. He's had an hamstring injury. I think it's Palmeiras' match to lose. The only way I see that changing is if Soteldo has one of those kind of nights or days in Rio, one of those kinds of special performances where he puts the team on his small frame and carries them to a win. He's that inspirational guy that can do it. You've got to look at, when the day's over for Soteldo, for Santos to be in this game, you've got to look at 3-4 chances created, probably a goal, probably an assist, and earning a bunch of dangerous free kicks. You've got to look at him providing all the danger. I don't think Palmeiras allows that to happen. I think they're able to manage him and handle everything else. And I think 3-1 is where I'm at with it with Palmeiras. And I know that's changed from the Saga Over There show, but the more that I've looked at it, the more I've dug into it, I feel like Palmeiras is the true favorite here. For the noobs that are on the Twitch pitch, self-professed noobs, and anybody else who's not on the Fanati side of things yet, you can watch this game on BN and on Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. They have a 7-day free trial. They have BN is in their basic package, their basic monthly subscription. They do have the Brasileiro pack, which you can add to your subscription to see all of the first and second division games in Brazil. It's been a really nice package to have. There's been some fun matches. I wish I had watched the match last night with our friends Chapecoense. They won the Serie B title. And the way they won it was a 97th minute Panenka. They needed to win by more goals than the team they were battling with. They needed one more in the 97th minute. They get a penalty, and it is a Panenka, and that's how they go through. And the captain, Alan Ruschel, was the only survivor of the 2016 plane crash that's still playing for the side. He captained them. He lifted the trophy. Incredible story.
Yeah, and Nico Contour kept me apprised of that. I was keeping an eye on his Twitter account, and everything had to be better than the 2-1 result for Chape. They had to win by more than one. And it was, they're driving in the area in the 96, and there's a takedown, and just the ice cold nature of doing a Panenka with everything on the line the way that it was. But no, I would also recommend, if anyone hasn't had the chance, and you've got, I think it's like an hour and a half of your time, the Forza Chape documentary that was posted, to give you the backstory if you're not completely familiar with it. But Forza Chape for me was one of the great documentaries of the most recent grouping that's come out. So must see TV to kind of get the backstory here, but great for them to win the Serie B the way they did.
Yeah, you're getting down to the final weeks of the Serie A in Brazil. I think it's 6 match days left. And there's some interesting races for the Libertadores spots, for the top, for the Sudamericana spots to avoid relegation. It'll definitely go down to the wire. And again, you can get that on Fanatis with the additional Brasileiro pack. But for today, if you don't have BN on any of your services, you can get that today with a 7-day free trial or a subscription to the basic pack on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And it helps the show, and we appreciate it. They had fans in Mexico last night, John. 8,500 people?
Yeah. Sinaloa State is code yellow right now when it comes to interaction because of COVID-19, but Mazatlan got permission from the state government to have fans, and it was 45% capacity. The new stadium there, the Kraken, the nickname, it seats about 20,000, but they had 45% capacity, about 8,000 in there last night, and it worked out well for the home side. Mazatlan got a goal late first half, held on to win 1-0, and so the biggest question for me is this going to be something to keep an eye on? Is this the trend where Liga MX sides are going to have fans in the stands? Is it going to be state by state, or some still code red versus code yellow, and you have the governments allowing fans in? So it's just something for me to keep an eye on, and for anybody interested in Liga MX and fans in the stands. But yeah, they hit 8,000 last night at Estadio Mazatlan for the game last night in Liga MX.
I mean, Jarrett, have you heard of any larger crowd in any major league worldwide since all this started? I know there was, I think, some issues in
Australia and New Zealand, but that's
have
it.
they? And have they even had that many?
I know they've been putting a lot of people in the stands.
Okay, maybe they have,
because of the way they handled everything in the beginning, especially New Zealand.
Yeah.
They've been packing out their rugby games, but I believe Australia opened up the A-League to fans.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the percentages are. I don't think anybody in Europe has gotten that. I want to say it was Bulgaria.
But as far
that
as
had
Europe
a
and
lot.
the Americas, I think that is it.
Yeah, definitely in the Americas. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't remember that kind of number, and I don't know the numbers in Mazatlan for COVID and where that stands. But that surprised me. I didn't expect to see that. That felt like a larger number than anybody has pushed it to in a while anyway.
And yeah, I mean, it was surprising to hear that number. And initially, as I was watching the game last night, and you're seeing fans, and then you see the wider shots, and you see more and more fans. I went tried to dig up some info on it, and yeah, the fact that they let that many in, numbers I think in Sinaloa State, as I was buzzing through information, are increasing over the last handful of weeks. I think the number of cases, I think it's just 2,500, I think was what they were looking at that had been reported recently in the last week. So, it was a bit of a strange sight last night to see all that many fans in the stands when we're used to seeing very limited numbers But is this a going trend in Liga MX, or is just this a case-by-case basis in state-by-state?
Now, and Ragamuffin has a question. Do we know what the percentage was for the Chiefs game last week? I don't even think – I know Buffalo didn't –
I think it was 15%.
15%? Yeah, because Buffalo, it wasn't five figures, and that's a much bigger stadium than Mazatlan. I think percentage-wise, this is the most that I've seen anywhere I can think of in a while outside of like Australia, New Zealand. I don't know. Ricky says it was 25% in Kansas City.
25%? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was maybe around that for Buffalo as well for their game the week before. It's, again, we don't really know what's going to happen next with this stuff. So that one caught me by surprise. I didn't expect to see that. I don't think they push it a whole lot further, especially in Mexico City right now. I wouldn't expect that. So we'll see. We did not mention La Liga earlier, and Real Madrid is playing, and Real Madrid's got a bunch of injuries, a bunch of absences, but they are up 1-0 in the first half. However, they are playing with 10 men. Militao with a professional foul. Dogso got the red card. VAR changed it to a red card. That was in the 9th minute. They scored to take the lead in the 13th from Marco Asensio. So they are up 1-0, but playing with 10 against Levante. And Real Madrid is at the center of a lot of the silly season conversations. People are still waiting to see what Sergio Ramos is going to do. They're waiting to see if David Alaba is going to sign a deal for next year with Real Madrid. Everybody's expecting that. And people are wondering what Zinedine Zidane is going to do, if he's going to be back next year. I don't think that's a guarantee that he is. If he drops games like this one, I don't see him back at all. But I don't know if coming in second and maybe getting to the quarterfinals or semifinals of the Champions League is enough for him to come back. I'm thinking they move on, barring a big change in their fortunes and probably Atleti's fortunes as well, because La Liga is in Atleti's hands. I think Atleti is one of the favorites for Champions League. And I think that's going to force Real Madrid across town to make a change. I don't see Zinedine Zidane back next year.
No, and the thing that has always been for me the stunning element of all of this. Now, I know that we look at Atleti and you look at defense, but just the sheer fact that in league play, you have only given up 8 goals this entire season. 18 matches, 8 goals allowed. By far the best defense in the league. I mean, it's stunning to me. Goal difference at plus 28. But just you look at that 8 in goals allowed, and for me, that just makes your eyes bug out at just how things have been defensively for them this year.
We've got an update out of Marseille, the training center, and one of the videos that was making the rounds, Get French Football News has it. Training center was vandalized by Marseille fans who broke in. 25 arrests made by police, according to RMC.
Yeah.
I am assuming the team is not there. I'm assuming the team has already left. This is not the only place this has happened in France. Saint-Étienne, their training session was interrupted by 300 supporters who came to apply pressure to the team following a derby defeat and ahead of tomorrow's match with Nice. They came out on the training pitch and started chanting and circling the team, and like, what in the world? So you got 2 different clubs. That one at least hasn't gotten violent. In Marseille, Get French Football News had a couple of updates here about what's like leading to this and not justifying it, but why are they doing this? Right. Angry with current form is ridiculous. They'd been in the title race in November, now have an outside chance at Champions League qualification. We talked about it is a very outside chance. They want the president, Erod, out. He is viewed as a Parisian pretender, so not a local guy, I guess. Again, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. 25 people arrested at the moment, according to RMC.
Yep, 300 supporters apparently were in this group. And now I'm looking at the police Twitter in the region. But yeah, 25 arrests of the 300 supporters that crashed the gates, and they did actually make it inside the training facility itself.
Yeah, they vandalized it. They've gotten in and vandalized the training facility, and we will see where that goes because I would imagine there will be more arrests coming at Marseille for this stupidity. Any other updates? Also this morning, you had in Spain, Sevilla win 2-0 in that early game against Eibar. Sevilla now has Papu Gomez, and Sevilla, talked about La Liga and Real Madrid. Sevilla's right behind them, 2 points back now after their win this morning. Real Madrid, if they win, they're 2 points ahead. If they draw, they'll be level with Sevilla. If they lose, Sevilla will be ahead of them, and Real Madrid will go into third. Barcelona is in a Champions League spot, and that feels like it is pretty essential financially for them to maintain. They're in fourth on 37 points. Villarreal's on 34. Real Sociedad is on 31, and those two teams play one another at 3 o'clock. That's going to be a game to keep an eye on because of the pressure that will be put on Barcelona based off the result. Barca's won their last 4. Ronald Koeman's going to have to continue finding results. Their number one priority has to be qualification for Champions League next year. If they don't, these financial problems, as bad as they are, might be hard to solve without Champions League money coming in next year.
Real Madrid Levante now tied at 1 in the 34th. Your numbers on Villarreal and Real Sociedad. Villarreal a plus 145 at home. Real Sociedad in the composite a plus 220, and your draws a plus 215.
Now, Ricky Ricardo wanted to talk about my old school U.S. men's national team kit that I'm wearing because the U.S. men's national team plays tomorrow night. They're playing Trinidad and Tobago. We could see Miles Robinson. We could see George Bello. They are both part of the squad for the U.S. We could see a Johnny Fortune from Atlanta United's academy. He is part of the squad for Trinidad and Tobago. Jarrett, what are you looking for out of this game? I mean, it's a friendly. It's the kind of off-season friendly that sometimes we get things out of it, sometimes we get nothing out of it. What are you looking for out of this game tomorrow night against TNT?
I'm looking for all of the memes because people are dumb.
Wow. Okay. That's where you go. Okay.
Well, you're playing the team that you laid an egg against, and the last time you played in a really big game. I'm expecting memes
almost 4 years.
This fan base is still the most self-deprecated fan base that I've ever seen. So I just expect overreaction to bad things and underreaction to good things because the self-loathing with this fan base is to the point that it needs to be medicated.
I would agree with that. Christopher Apel says, I hope Miles plays so he doesn't have to do wind sprints afterwards.
Yes.
I agree with that.
If they break Bello or Miles Robinson, if they break either one of them, or a Johnny Fortune,
yes,
on the TNT side,
yep.
If they break either one of them, I hope Carlos is kicking down doors.
Tranquilo. People get hurt playing the sport. It does happen.
If they get hurt in the middle of the game, that's one thing. But if they get hurt doing wind sprints after a game again, we can kick down doors. I'm fine with that. At that point. If it happens in the middle of the game, that's part of it.
That
if it happens running wind sprints afterward, nah.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want that thing to get twisted further out of proportion than it has, because man, that has been twisted. Late in a season for a player, and I know that game specifically that the Miles Robinson was injured after was early in the season for the European players. It was late in the season for Miles, and when the club that sent him to you said, hey, he's had a heavy workload lately, don't have him do anything extra that is unnecessary, and they do it, that's the problem. Players who, now...
It was a unique situation.
Yeah, right now, guys might want to run some wind sprints after the game because they're still in preseason mode. You're trying to get into shape. It was a very specific situation, and I would hope that Greg Berhalter has learned from it. I'm assuming that because of Bello and Miles being part of this camp, that the U.S. men's national team and Atlanta United are copacetic again and on the same page. And it's a preseason camp. It's a good opportunity for these guys. I hope they both play. Would love to see Miles for the full 90 or as long as they're going to have starters go in it. And I'd love to see Bello get a cameo to get his first cap. It'd be big for him. It'd be big for his confidence going into a potentially big year. I mean, George Bello's, not dumb. He sees what Brian Reynolds just is going for. Reportedly, Brian Reynolds will be landing in Rome, I think, in a couple hours from the reports this week. He's going to know that could be next for him. He's going to know that he could be, sold for $8, $9, $10 million in the next year. In this current calendar year, it could happen.
Yeah.
So this is a big opportunity for him. Everything he can do between now and that day when he is sold for a large amount of money and gets a large contract on the other side. According to the reports, Brian Reynolds is going to see $1 million a year now. Bello, every chance he gets to raise his stock, he's got to take it. Because a performance today or tomorrow for the national team, good performances for Atlanta United, more money, more clubs interested, faster jump, and a bigger opportunity on the other side of it.
We have Newcastle rumors.
We have Newcastle rumors. What do we have?
Yeah, incoming Newcastle rumors.
What? That's not supposed
despite it all. I know. Anthony Joseph, Sky Sports, reporting that Newcastle have made a loan inquiry at Celtic to Olivier and John. Celtic would prefer an option to buy clause added into any loan deal, and Cham has made it clear he wants to leave the club. You and everybody else, buddy. And Cham is kind of that 8-10 hybrid midfielder who, when he's on, can pick out any pass he wants, but when he's not on, it's just kind of there in the middle of the park and is kind of a bump on a log. But when he's feeling good, it's good. That would be an interesting decision, I would say.
Couple of Twitch pitch updates. KFC says Fortune's brother's younger, right? They aren't both called up yet, are they? No. He's this is a Johnny's first time. I know the younger brother has not been called up yet, not for the senior.
I'm also excited for people to finally learn that there is an A on the beginning of his name, and it's not just Johnny Fortune.
Yes, although that's a pretty sweet name if you were just Johnny Fortune.
Oh, it's great.
Johnny Fortune.
Johnny Fortune sounds like a guy who's an action movie.
I want to see.
Yeah, he's a private detective.
Yeah. Probably with a mustache. I want to see if he continues, like AJ is what some people call him too. I want to see if that becomes kind of what he goes by, or if it's a Johnny, or if he just truly embraces Johnny Fortune and grows a mustache and gets a Camaro or something.
Yes, you got to have a rag top if you're Johnny Fortune.
Yeah, I could see that happen.
Firebird.
Power Hour halftime report on Swansea from the Colonel. IU's on a caution. Swansea's up 2-0. Perhaps that's an opportunity for Jordan Morris to come in and give IU a break and get his Swansea debut. Also from Katie on the men's national team striker battle in Germany, Josh Sargent was subbed out in the 60th minute.
On Twitter, Nathan is in this morning. He says he was watching the Everton match and was wondering, and he says they in the broadcast, quote, "Guilty Gilfy is carded," was the phrase that was used. And so Nathan says, what clown college of announcing do these people come from? Thank goodness for Mike and Jason that they don't try to force in awful puns.
Yeah, we try not to do that. It does happen from time to time. I don't have a I told you so sounder, but if you were listening to the show yesterday, I did. It happened. And Ricky Ricardo points it out from Golazo Argentino. It was starting to make the rounds yesterday. Remember when we talked about that $360,000 debt that Independiente had that they needed to pay to a former defender to be able to bring players in?
Right.
They're banned from doing so, and it was expected that they would pay that $360,000 and get the ban lifted in 48 hours, according to Gaston Edul of TIC. Well, now they've got another one. And I think there's another one coming beyond this. Independiente must pay Defensor Sporting $1.5 million in the next 35 days for the transfer of Carlos Benavides. And I believe they've got one either still pending or it has been ruled on that they owe, I think it's Club America, money on Cecilio Dominguez. that they did not pay yet to finish his transfer, and now they've transferred him on to Austin FC because they couldn't pay him.
Right.
Independiente, and the reason this is important in our universe is Independiente, beyond being our good friend Gustavo's favorite club, has been linked with a move bringing in Eric Remedi. And it's one thing to discuss money in making that move happen. It's another if you are banned from bringing players in. Now, if they pay the $360,000 and get the ban rescinded, they have 35 days and counting to pay the $1.5 million before they're banned again. So they could do it. I don't know what their financials are looking like. I don't know how they're moving this money around. I don't know how any of this is going, but yeah. Independiente has some problems, and maybe that's why San Lorenzo has been mentioned as a possible spot for Eric Remedi because, yeah. And also, as Sam Williamson points out, maybe that $14 million for Alan Velasco might be a necessary move for Independiente to sell to MLS because they might not have time to sell him to Europe, and they might need the $14 million to prevent getting banned from other things because they would be able to pay these debts and have the money left over if they sold Alan Velasco for $14. They're going to try to get every dollar they can. But if Alan Velasco comes to MLS, and Juan Arango reported that it was Atlanta who made that offer, yeah, that's a big, 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 big deal. Couple other updates on the Atlanta front that are out there on social before we go. Rocco Rios Novo is posting pictures in Atlanta. I would assume he's probably going through a quarantine period coming into the country. American citizen, goalkeeper, who it appears will be on loan from Lanús with an option to buy that was reported at $3 million. Argentine U20 goalkeeper, I believe he might be able to train with the academy right now while they're actually training, depending on what happens with MLS. And we talked about it yesterday. There's not been any update further on it. MLS made their statement that riled everybody up, and you saw the usual responses that you would expect to see. There will probably be more of those. You didn't see anything specifically from the Players Association, which I think is a good sign, because now they're the ones who need to stay level-headed and not react to a, I think, inflammatory statement from MLS about the lockout and get things done, because they can both still get things done. There's time. They've got time in this negotiating window. They've got time to get it done. On the Atlanta front as well, Franco Ibarra spoke to radio in Argentina and talked about how excited he was to come to Atlanta United. So I think you can safely assume that that deal's going to happen. This is another thing that, look, it happens in Argentina. You have a million different radio programs. You have a million different journalists and shows and outlets, and things get said. And we find out news there before we find it out on this side. So Argentina es loco. I agree, Christopher. It's fun, though. It's very fun, but it is very loco. And Franco Ibarra has said that he is excited about the opportunity to come to Atlanta United, and he is likely going to be, if not the starter, he's going to have a huge opportunity to be that and get a lot of playing time in that holding midfield for Atlanta United this season.
A couple of things to wrap up on Twitter after looking at the first half of West Brom. Cuppers thinks Sad Sam's going to get relegated, complete with an appropriate gift. Tafka has a question. Is ESPN available overseas? No idea how it works for broadcasting over there, but can people find Serie A or Bundesliga matches if they don't live in Italy or Germany?
Oh, yeah, but it's not ESPN. Like, every country does its own thing. So ESPN here has the rights to those games here. I don't know who has them in Argentina or Brazil or in Italy. I don't know who has the rights to Bundesliga and vice versa for Serie A in Germany. I'm not sure who all the rights holders are. But, for example, I mean, for MLS, they have rights holders all over the world with different channels and different networks in different countries. And they're all different deals. Like, it's all separate deals and all separate stuff. So, yeah, it's not about ESPN. There are ESPNs that have rights to different things all over the world. I know ESPN in Argentina, I think they show Premier League in Argentina. I believe they show all the Leeds games because of Bielsa, and they'll pick games that are meaningful to their audience. So ESPN's worldwide, and it just depends on each country what rights they have for what.
And to cleanse the palate, also to wrap things up on Twitter, Nathan, for no real reason, posted video of a bear in Wyoming frolicking in the snow.
That about sums it up. Mateo on Twitter wins the day with my "I told you so" comment. Anytime you break out a Randy Travis gif, you win. That's amazing, Mateo. You get a raise, my friend. I did not expect a Randy Travis gif this morning about anything I would say on the show, but Mateo wins the day. Mateo had an easy day. We had a lot of different things on a power hour. It's what happens on the power hour. It's lots of power. And there's lots of craziness. There's lots of absurdity, and there's lots of big games. Manchester United, Arsenal coming up in a few hours. Copa Libertadores after that. You've got games in Mexico. You've got games in Colombia this evening as well that are on Fanatis. All kinds of games, all kinds of places. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, and we'll be back with you on Monday morning. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.